Well, I thought we were done recording, but Paul says I have another one.
Yeah, so we didn't know what to do last time we recorded, and so I came up with this conversation piece, and someone says, hey, that was interesting, why don't you do it again? I said, okay, I'll do it again. And last time we had a conversation with Brad Pitt.
Yes, we did. And it was nice of him to come to my house.
Yeah. Now, this time I've invited Kurt Russell.
Kurt Russell?
Who doesn't like Kurt
Is Goldie
Russell?
coming with him?
No, she's off doing something else. Okay, so Kurt Russell, you'll know him from Snake Plissken in Escape from New York.
Among other things. He's been in the Fast and Furious.
Yeah. Big Trouble in Little China.
Mm-hmm.
And Wyatt Earp.
Yeah.
Okay, so first question.
Mm-hmm.
While taking on acting gigs when he was young, his actual goal was not acting. It was playing pro baseball. But then he got a shoulder injury that put an end to that. Do you have a baseball story? Not the story of you getting injured in hockey. Do you have a baseball story?
I do, but let me change the battery on the camera first. Baseball stories, eh?
Baseball story.
Well, like that I played in?
It doesn't matter.
Well, because I always had I was working for CBC News at the time that the Blue Jays won the World Series. And I actually was operating the satellite system. So I got to go down with them when I delivered the satellite system, and then I got to sneak in and meet some of the players when that was going on, when they won. That was a pretty big thrill for me. First time, the first game they ever won the World Series. We were there, so yeah, that was that was my Blue Jays history.
Okay. I wasn't a big baseball fan, and then Don was working at CBC, and he was friends with the sports guys, and they got me into this fantasy baseball thing between just 5 guys.
5 of us, that's it.
And this was the sports crew at CBC, and Don and me. I knew nothing. But at the end of the season, it came down to me and this other guy. And it looked like I was going to win.
The trade. You're going to talk about the trade, aren't you?
There was a trade. So the other guy that was neck and neck with me did the skeezy trade where he sent one of his worst guys out, and he got one of the best guys in the league in. And it put him over me by 0.5 points.
Yeah.
I will never forget that betrayal because that was so unfair.
Yeah, even I went up and said, no, that wasn't a right trade. And I said, oh yeah, he's getting he's the number 1 base stealer, but he had no other stats. So out of 5 stats in offense, he lost 4 points, and gained 1 stat.
Yeah,
it was a completely skeezy. You know it if you're watching the video.
Yeah,
you know
watching.
it. Yeah. So but yeah, there's that. I'm a big fan of baseball. Steven plays baseball. He umpires, my son, right? And I remember my dad used to coach us. Now, I was not the strongest kid in the world, very skinny young kid, but I was like one of the most accurate people throwing a baseball you will ever see. And I think it's because I'm blind in my left-hand eye. And so, for some reason, anything short distance, I have a laser focus. And I remember that I got to pitch one day because nobody else could pitch at the time. The two pitchers that we had on our team never showed up, and I shut the team out. But they would never. The other coach would never let me pitch anymore because I wasn't the big kid. He wanted a big kid pitcher, somebody who's another foot taller than I was, and all that.
Like if you're about winning, what does it matter?
He just didn't think. Just like in football, if you're not over 6 foot, you can't be a quarterback. Even though we had one of the best quarterbacks in Canada. In what was his name there? Went down to the States.
Doug Flutie.
Doug Flutie, like one of the best quarterbacks ever. He wins 4 straight games to get them into the playoffs, and they take him out for the playoff game because he wasn't the typical 6 foot some quarterback. It's just the way some people thought. Now, as far as hitting is concerned, horrible hitter because I was shy. I didn't want to make a fool of myself. I would just ball, strike. And I remember finally my dad just said, just hit the damn ball. swing at the damn ball. I don't care if you hit it, just swing at it. And I went up, and the pitch came across, and I pounded that ball, and everyone went, "Whoa!" Because it was the first time all season I had swung the ball right into the second baseman's glove, who did a leaping catch like this and caught it. The only time I ever hit the ball as a kid. But then when I, growing up, I wasn't shy anymore after stuff. And I became like really good at baseball. I home runs all the time. Ask Steven.
I remember we used to go play catch, and you were pretty good at doing those.
I used to hurt your. We used to play a game that hold the glove in different locations and hit it, and yeah, I could.
There's a lot of times where the ball was coming, I just pull my hand out because I'm not getting hit with that.
Well, we were just in. Where was it? Disney or Universal Studios, and they have that arcade thing, and we went up and they have these balloons, and you got to have this little beanbag thing, and you got to hit the balloon to pop it. And so I, my friend that I was with throws it, doesn't hit anything. Throws it again, doesn't hit anything, and like 4 times she wants this one little doll. And so I said, "Here, okay." I went, pop, 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 and the guy goes, "Oh, sorry, you don't get that doll because they have to be in line. So you have to go across the line or up and down," and I hit him like this, right? I said, "Oh." So it was like $1 a shot. I said, "Give me $5. He gives me $5. I get 25 bags. I go pop. I popped all 25 bags. He had to get 5 great big dolls like this, and I handed them out to all the kids that were walking around. Tell me I have to hit him in line. Didn't miss a single shot.
You're the baseball Rain Man.
Oh, if it's aiming, I'm still good today.
Okay, Kurt Russell passed up an opportunity to star in Star Wars. He was offered a role in a TV Western called The Quest. He asked George Lucas, "Make a decision." And Lucas couldn't decide whether he wanted Kurt to play Han Solo or Luke Skywalker. And so Kurt just said, whatever, I'm going to take the Western instead. Tell us about a time when, in retrospect, you made the obvious wrong choice and missed out on something spectacular.
Okay. I was, at one point, I just mentioned that I was operating helping operate the satellite system for CBC. And the team, there was only one team. There was 3 operators and me who transported, and I actually learned how to operate the system. And at one point, they decided we did such a good job after a year that they wanted to move the satellite system instead of Ottawa to the main base in Toronto. And they offered me a new job. They offered me to be in charge of the transportation. It was like back then a $10,000 raise and a permanent job with the company because I was being paid as a contractor at that time. And I turned it down because my wife at the time was working at the hospital and we would have had to move the kids, and I turned it down. 3 months later, I'm filing for divorce, and I lost the job I was currently working at because the contract got lost, and I'm looking at that job in Toronto at the CBC, making way more money than I ever could make at my new job that I ended up getting, and being single at the time. So yeah.
And then you went from little job to little job to little job.
Like for 3 years.
Delivering papers even.
Garbage job, garbage job, garbage job.
Yeah. Okay. So mine was, I decided to go to university. And I decided to take political science and history.
Because that's a good job.
And I'm almost finished my bachelor, and I'm thinking, what is this gonna give me as a job? Like, what political science job is out there, right?
It took him 4 years to figure out, oh yeah, I'm qualified for nothing.
And so I said, okay, well, it's political science and history, so I could be a teacher. And so I took my teacher certificate, and I started practice teaching. I said, wow, this sucks. Like, I don't like kids. Well, I don't like other people's kids. And
sometimes it's own.
and so this is the missed opportunity, because I didn't continue with the teaching. A teacher nowadays starts at $51,000. And if you work for 10 years, You're making $95,000.
And have summers off and holidays off,
Yeah.
et cetera, et cetera.
And $95,000.
Yeah. Also, you can accumulate your sick leave and take it all at the end and retire early.
And the pensions.
Yeah.
Like, okay, yeah. You know, a job, unless you're one of the lucky ones who gets to do what you love. You're one of the lucky ones now.
Now,
Yeah.
not always.
There are some people who could do what they love. But a job is going to be a job. It's going to be something that you don't love. I should have just accepted that. I'm not going to love this, but in the long run, it's going to pay off. But I didn't know it was going to pay off like that.
Yeah, he's not in a job he loves now.
Like my job is fine. It's fine.
But it's a job.
It's a job. And I probably would enjoy it more than doing the teaching. But once you factor in the pay,
Yeah.
$95,000 sounds good to me. Like maybe many of you out there think $95,000 is kind of, maybe it's lower than what you made. $95,000 to me, that's a lottery.
Yeah, but guess what? $95,000, that's for an elementary teacher and stuff. Go and become tenure at some of the universities and all that. You're talking a lot more.
Yeah, well, hundreds of thousands of dollars.
So, yeah, missed opportunity.
Okay. Russell won an Academy Award for his portrayal of Elvis in 1975 miniseries, directed by horror icon John Carpenter.
Okay.
In 1963, he appeared in an Elvis film titled It Happened at the World's Fair. He later dubbed the voice for another actor playing Elvis in the movie Forrest Gump. Growing up, were you an Elvis fan?
I had to be because your mom was. And
How much of a fan was she?
she's an addict fan. She's the panties on the stage girl for Elvis for sure.
Well, no. She
I know
loved
it's your
him
mom,
that
but
much.
yes.
She loved him that much, but yeah, I don't see her doing that.
Yeah, she would have. You don't know your mom in the back in those days. A little more wild than you think. But yeah,
I don't
actually,
think so.
I'm an Elvis fan. To this day, there are some movies of Elvis that I watch all the time. Viva Las Vegas with Anne Margaret. Follow That Dream, which he plays a country boy that is from just out of the army. He's not brilliant, and they kind of homestead on this private land owned by the government, and it's all about the story of them living there. He hardly sings in it. He sings like 3 songs, but it's one of my favorite movies by him. And of course, Kid Galahad, where he's a boxer with Death Wish guy. Charles Bronson is actually in that movie as well. Great movies for a singer. To me, those were great movies.
Okay. Yeah, so like you said, my mom was an Elvis fan, and so it was playing in the house. We had the vinyl in the house. So I grew up knowing all his songs. And they would just stick in your head, and you would sing them growing up. And
Oh, yeah.
So I was a groomed Elvis fan. Now, if I think about whether I'm an Elvis fan today, I love young Elvis, his persona, and I love all of his music up until his dying day. But I don't like the old Elvis Vegas performer persona. I don't like that. I think it's a tragedy what happened to him.
Yeah.
And it happens. It happens. He was famous. He was loved until his dying day. But I didn't like his cape and his jumpsuit persona. I think that was cringe and tragic. But
But the music.
I will always say that of performers, Elvis is like top 3 singers of all time.
Oh, his voice is smooth.
Yeah.
So good.
The movie Bull Durham was written specifically for Kurt Russell. But the studio stepped in and forced the switcheroo to Kevin Costner.
Bull Durham, okay.
Bull Durham, the baseball movie.
I had Raging Bull in my head, and I go, no.
No, and great, because Kevin Costner was awesome in the movie. Okay, but it was written for Kurt Russell. Were you ever unfairly passed over by the higher-ups?
All the time. All the time. You know my history with your current position and mine. I got to a position where that I was so valuable to the company that I worked for at the time that I couldn't quit, I couldn't be fired, yet they wouldn't want to pay me. So at one point, a new boss came in, and because they were saying that the old boss wasn't doing their job or whatever like this, and they came in and they immediately had to make changes. So everything got passed on to me as being the blame for why the company at the time was not, even though my numbers were still good and everything was doing well. And so they couldn't fire me, but they asked me what I wanted to. So I went back to the line and worked as an unloader after being the manager. And they hired 3 separate people to take over the exact same job I was doing by myself. And within 6 months, all 3 were fired. And then I got sick and things came after like that. But the only reason I was the one chosen, because I was the low man on the totem pole as manager for seniority, and it would have cost them a lot more money to lay off the other guys in severance.
And there was this one point where you qualified to be this premier version of that role, but they didn't want to classify you as that.
Yeah, because our Ottawa was too small of a DC, they called it, distribution center, to qualify for this position, even though I was the only person in North America to qualify for it. The only person to qualify for it. Every year, even when I went down for 2 years to be back on the dock, every second year I won Employee of the Year at the company. Every second year. Why? Because you can't win it back to back. Not boasting, but I'm loyal to my job and I work hard when I do my job.
And then they start criticizing you for, oh, you pulled an all-nighter, but you left the photocopy paper out.
Yeah. Yeah, little things like that. That's when you knew the writing was on the wall.
Okay. For me, it's not, I don't have a story about me being passed over, but I've noticed a trend at our company, and I'm sure a lot of companies have it, is that you have a group of people, I'm not going to say guys, although the majority are guys, but a group of people that are really good at what they do. Mm-hmm. And if they're not good, they at least have experience in what they're doing. Okay? But now, when they're hiring for the bosses of the crew, they're hiring these young women right out of college that have never worked in our industry and possibly have never worked a job at all. So they're bringing in these people possibly to fill checkboxes, instead of taking the experienced people, the good performers from the crew that know the job. And so now they have to train these people from scratch. And then they put them in charge of this experienced crew. So I don't understand the point of this.
It's DEI.
But why wouldn't you start with promoting the people from within, the loyal people who have been there, who know the job perfectly, and then hire a replacement checklist person to replace that person's old job, and then get experienced diversity hires if you want. Have them work their way up so that they're now experienced and can become bosses.
Because it's too slow. They want it immediate.
Yeah,
and that's all companies.
Now imagine working somewhere for 20 years and you know this business inside and out, and you get passed over for someone who's 22 just out of school?
Yeah, who's never worked in your industry ever.
And it's not like you're a surgeon. It's not like you're coming out of school to do engineering where you need that school thing. It's a job where on-the-job experience counts.
Yeah.
So I never understood this. I think it's just so stupid.
Welcome to the modern world.
And I'm not saying that the people coming out of school into the job are not quality people. I'm just saying that to be the boss of this, you should know this.
I've always been a firm believer you earn what you get. And that means that if you're the most qualified person for the job, it should not matter where you're from, what sex you are, what color you are, whether you're rich or whether you're poor, doesn't matter. You're the best person for the job, you should get the job. Mm-hmm. And if you're the hardest worker, you should get rewarded.
And if there are multiple choices of equal value, then you could do your checklist if you want.
Yeah. Yeah, it has to be equal, though. You can't lower the standards just to be able to check that box.
Yeah.
And I think that's enough, because we're at 18 minutes.
No, we're going to do
One more.
One more.
Okay.
He was offered twice the going rate for Stargate because the studio conducted a survey which concluded that Kurt Russell had 0% unlikability. Name an actor that despite appearing in some rather awful films, you just can't help but like.
Green Lantern comes to mind.
Oh, Ryan Reynolds?
Yeah. We did not like Green Lantern very much.
It was okay.
But, I mean, everyone ragged on that film.
Yes.
Yet, to me, he's still one of the most likable actors out there.
Mm-hmm.
Who thought he would rise to the stardom that he's at now after Green Lantern?
Well, even at Green Lantern, he was still a rising star, but he did plenty of things before that.
He did
too.
the Blade Trinity that everyone hated as well, etc. He did some stinkers out there. But he's come into his own with, Deadpool and The Proposal with, But I honestly thought when I first saw him in a couple of those roles, I'm going, okay, he's a nice guy, but I don't know how he's going to work. But now he's like, the personality is just shone through.
Mm-hmm.
He's funny, he can make jokes, and he's lighthearted, and everyone he works with just likes working with him. And so, yeah, Ryan Reynolds.
Okay. I got two. The first one is Cary Elwes. Like, he's not starring in everything. The one that comes to mind is The Princess Bride, Robin Hood, Men in Tights. Okay. I love him in everything. It doesn't matter. Even the recent the Statham movie.
Jason Statham?
Jason Statham. Fortune. He was in that as the boss of the crew. And I love him in anything he does. I can't hate him. And the other one is Kiefer Sutherland. I think he's just so cool. I don't care what he's in. And Michael J. Fox. Michael J. Fox has done some kind of mediocre movies back in the 80s.
See, you would say Kiefer Sutherland. I would say Donald Sutherland. Because it's more my generation.
Yeah.
He's a cool actor, too.
He's cool, but is he completely unlikable?
I don't know.
Completely.
It's like Morgan Freeman. When Morgan Freeman talks, you just automatically respect him just because of the voice.
Yeah.
He can. Yes, and you were an idiot, Don, and you should never be born. Oh, I love you, Morgan Freeman. Just the voice will convince me that he's right.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, we're running along in the video. I had one more. If you want to watch Kurt Russell actually casting for Star Wars, reading the lines to be casted, I'm going to put the link in the description. You can click on that and you can go to the YouTube video.
If you made it all the way to this portion of the video.